क्या आप आईएएस की तैयारी कर रहे हैं और कोचिंग इंस्टीट्यूट्स को 2.5 लाख तक की फीस नहीं पे करना चाहते? अगर हाँ, तो 22,500 रुपए में घर बैठ के StudyIQ के पेनड्राइव कोर्स के साथ आप आईएएस की तैयारी कर सकते हैं। आज ही विजिट करें StudyIQ.com.
Good morning and welcome to StudyIQ. I am Prashant Mavani. I hope you all are doing good. Let's have a positive start. Success is result of perfection, hard work, learning from failure, loyalty and persistence. If you pay attention to the words that you can see on your screen, hard work, you have to work hard if you want to succeed. And I'm not just talking about your exam. Exam is just a small part of your life. Yes, it is very important, but life is much grander, much bigger than your exam. And you are going to fail many a times in your life, right? It is inevitable and you have to as well. But now it's up to you how you take it, whether you take it as a learning curve or a sort of milestone that will help you to grow, or if you are taking it as a negative thing. That depends on our perspective and attitude. But remember, if you want a success mantra, then you have to work hard, you have to learn from your failure, you have to stay committed, and you have to work on regular basis. You have to be persistent. With this, the first item that we have on our screen is this one, a good beginning. It is about data protection, right? We are lacking a proper, you can say, up-to-date data protection legal framework in our country, and this thing was reported in it was reported in newspapers or The Hindu a couple of days ago as a news item, right? Justice B. N. Sri Krishna Committee and its recommendation. This B. N. Sri Krishna Committee was formed by Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, and it has submitted its recommendations. And of course, as I told you, that it is about this data protection legal framework. Now, I'm sure we all agree on this thing, and we have heard about this thing, that in today's era, right, your data is new oil, because the value of data and the things that you can do with your data. I'll give you a small example, right? Most of us are using smart phones, right? And we generate data. You go online, you are on FB, you tweet about something, you hit a like on your friends visit to a restaurant and things like that, then you go for a shopping or whatever. We do generate data, and it's not that just online. When you go for shopping, say for example, and if you are using your card, then as well the companies are knowing that you are spending this much on your clothing. If you withdraw money from your ATM, nowadays we have CCTV cameras, and there are so many things. I can go on and on. We have digital gadgets and all these items around us, isn't it? Now all these things are generating data, and this data is collected by various different companies, right? They collect these companies, they collect this data, and then they process this data. You have big data processing companies as well. They analyze your data, and based on this thing they will judge you. When I say judge you, I mean to say that they will be knowing more about you than you are knowing about yourself, because this data is processed through big softwares and programs, and very complicated programs, and based on this thing they will get a small chart of your personality. They will come to know in which age group you are, whether you are male, whether you are female or transgender, in which country you are living, in which region you are living, what was the biggest shopping that you did this year, and there are so many things. I can go on and on. So what they are doing is they are doing psychological analysis of your behavior, and based on this behavior, they will generate this data, and this data, this new material, you can say, this new oil, if I am allowed to say this thing, this will be purchased by various different companies. Companies, say for example, companies who are producing or are in business of clothing, right? Then once they have this data, that what are the things that youngsters are preferring and things like that, and based on that they will come out with new products and new fashion and their price, and this applies with cars and chocolates and most of the things. So most of the companies who are using this thing, or what happens is some companies, they hire some marketing agents, and this marketing agents may have access to this sort of things, and based on this thing they will suggest that these companies to produce XYZ services or products, and they are designed in such a way because they are so close to you, you are not aware about this thing, but they are close to you indirectly or directly, and because of this thing there are high chances that you will go and purchase that thing. They create this thing like impulse purchase. If you are standing in a long queue of supermarket, right, there are a few people serving in supermarket, and the way the whole counter is designed, or you can call it a till as well, the way this till or this counter is designed, what you do is what happens is that you are standing in a long queue, and because you are standing in a long queue, of course no one likes to wait. That's a simple human nature, isn't it? We don't like to wait. So whilst you are waiting, you are scanning and you are checking your phone and things like that, and all of a sudden you will realize that if you observe this thing, you will find that there are so many people out there waiting on this long queue. And whilst they are waiting, they will pick up something and something, right? They will purchase a chocolate, and the way they are kept, these chocolates and all these things. I'm just giving you a small example to let you know how this your impulse decisions, how we take impulse decisions, right? So this is how this data is used. So this is, you can say that taking your data for free and then producing something out of it and selling it back to you, which is of course not a very good thing to do. Apart from that, there are so many platforms, they misuse your data for various different reasons and things like that. So it's not ethical, if we can put it this way. Now, so as we know that this Justice B and Sri Krishna panel, it has provided its recommendation. We will go through it as well. And one of the main reasons is that for a very long period of time we were using this IT Act of 2000. It's of course an outdated act because it was designed back in 2000. Today we are in 2018. Things have changed drastically in last couple of years. So we need an up-to-date law. Of course, we need an up-to-date law that is protecting us from the challenges that we are facing now, and that will protect us from the challenges that we may face in future. Now, recently, this very important decision was taken by Supreme Court. This Justice K.S. Puttaswamy versus Union of India case, that right to privacy is a fundamental right, and as per this Justice B, and because this right to privacy and data protection is part of right to privacy, so this is how it is important for all of us, or for our country. The other thing is that Justice B N Krishna committee has also talked about this data principles and data fiduciaries. So principals are people whose information is collected, and this data fiduciaries are those companies, those processing this data. Of course, the companies, right? They are processing our data. So it has been clarified here that sensitive personal data cannot be used or misused, and the strongest law that we have on our planet so far, or current one, is coming from European Union, right? General Data Protection Regulation. This is the strongest we have in our planet, and that's what we are trying to achieve here. We are trying to match this GDPR, and the GDPR has recently fined big names. Google, Facebook has been fined, right, by this GDPR, or European Data Protection Law. Is very strict, and the best thing about this law is that it gives you this democratic choice. What they do nowadays is, when you download an app, I'm sure you all are aware about this thing, they ask you for permission, and once you give it, then they will have access to all your data. Most of the time, the way things are designed, right, this terms and conditions are written in so small format that it becomes nearly it becomes very irritating. And the way it is designed keeping in mind how our mind works, right? Keeping in mind how our mind works. So they write it in very small fonts. It's very lengthy, technical language. Most of the time people will hit accept, and once you accept it, then they will have access to your data. But here what GDPR does is that if you want these companies to delete your data, then you have this right. So this makes this data principles the king as far as this data is concerned. So this is something that we are trying to achieve. There is nothing wrong with it. There is a gray area as far as this new law that we are, or this recommendations. If we go through it, then we find that gray area is collection of data by state institutions like government departments and government branches. Government may argue that this is for national security purpose and things like that, but it has to be, it should have checks and balances. Parliamentary oversight should be there. or the report should go through this parliamentary oversight and judicial approval. If there is a requirement, then that should be added as well, so that there is no misuse of data by people who are civil servants or who are in authority. The second item that we have is coming from this item, the big 5 at 10. This big 5 at 10, as you can see here, hold on a second, where we are, here we are, this is big 5 at 10. So this article is about BRICS. Now let me give you a brief background about BRICS. 40% of world's population is represented by BRICS. 22% of global GDP, or you can say 1/5, nearly 1/5, a little bit more than 1/5 of GDP. Global GDP is represented by these 5 countries that you can see on your screen. You have Russia here, then you have China, you have India, South Africa, and then you have Brazil here. You have a country from South America, 3 countries from Asia, and 1 country from South America. These countries are developing nations, of course, right? And this was the main aim, that all these 5 big developing nations should come together. Earlier on, we used to have BRIC, and then South Africa joined in, so it became BRICS. The latest meeting took place in Johannesburg, that is, of course, in South Africa. Prime Minister Modi was there, and Johannesburg Declaration is out as well. It is talking about BRICS growing influence, expansion of BRICS interest, new institutions, new partnership, all these things are happening with BRICS. BRICS is expanding, right? It is a thing that is growing, no doubt. You can see the weight, 40% and 22% GDP, as well as this world population. So it's not a weak group, it's a very strong group that we are talking about. When this BRICS was formed, initial goals of this BRIC or BRICS were, and of course they are even today, that to reform global financial governance. What was happening is that this Western world countries, right, predominantly USA, or you can say IMF is there, that was dominated, and in fact even today dominated by USA. Then you have World Bank, again dominated by USA and other Western countries. So because of this dominance of these countries, this Western world, there was not a fair game. The game was not that fair, because if you are getting a loan from World Bank early on, what used to happen, that they will give you recommendations as well. They will give you advice, and you have to follow that advice. If you don't follow it, then they will not provide you money, and it's just working like a private bank. The name is World Bank, but their interest rate is not soft. It is very hard and tough. The other thing is they will promote their domestic companies for contracts and things like that. So it was a win-win for them. So this was a sort of tilt that was in favor of a few countries. But with the help of BRICS, that's what we are trying to achieve, that there should be a fine balance. Democratization of United Nations. I don't know what's happening with me. Anyways, so what we find with UN, United Nations, is of course made up of 192 countries, 93 countries, right, together. And USA again is a very dominating country as far as this United Nations is concerned, because the thing is, see, most of the money for running this UN is given by, again, USA. So because of this thing, then you have United Nations Security Council, where USA is a permanent member. So this is the reason why you find that when UN was not it was not sure about attacking Iraq or attacking Saddam Hussein, then as well unilaterally USA decided to go ahead because of this sort of thing. So making it a bit more democratic for everyone. Expansion of Security Council. Now there is a problem bit here. We know that there are 5 countries in this United Nations Security Council, and when we are talking about BRICS, we have 2 countries here. They are part of permanent 5, or this 5 members of Security Council, but they don't want to see India on board. Predominantly China. Russia is all right with us, but China is, of course, not at all happy to see us as a part of Security Council for various different reasons. Of course, during this BRICS meeting, stands taken by Donald Trump were also discussed. Then Russia's energy, economic minister also talked about this trade war that is going on between USA and China and how it can be detrimental for the whole world. Fourth industrial revolution was a very important topic, and this is a thing on which BRICS partnership on new industrial revolution has been formed. So together we are going to work for creating new strategy and implementing them for employment generation, education, skill development. And when we talk about this fourth industrial revolution, we are talking about artificial intelligence, we are talking about robotics, we are talking about new design, all these high tech products that are going to be efficient and effective and things like that, but they are going to disrupt this whole market. So we have to skill our youngsters, and that's the only way you can cope up with change. Change will bring challenges with it, but it is up to us whether we are taking it as a challenge or as we are running away from it. It depends on the nature of society, on individuals, and on different countries, based on different countries as well. And now you have this BRICS Business Council that has been performing very well for a very long period of time as far as this trade economic cooperation is concerned. It has also diversified itself into many different sectors like manufacturing, energy to financial services, regional aviation. You have a bank that is associated with the BRICS. It is New Development Bank. And African leaders were a bit not happy with this big loans not coming towards African countries. But NDB has dispersed loans totaling 5.1 billion to its member countries only. And that's what I think we should do. We should, of course, means you have to develop developing or countries that are lagging behind us. Right, it is a shared responsibility, because at the end of the day, if poverty is there in Africa, then there is poverty in the world, isn't it? So as a human beings, we have to make sure that everyone has access to basic or they have a decent quality of life. But of course, we have to look after ourselves as well. So the first investment, of course, will be because in India is there, you have China, parts of China, they are not developed. You have South Africa, you have this Brazil. There are so many issues going on in all these different countries too. Then you have this thing called BRICS Plus. It is about Argentina, Jamaica, Turkey, Indonesia, and Egypt, inviting them to observe this BRICS summit. And then you have this big bilateral meeting that we talked about. Mr. Xi Jinping and Mr. Modi met each other. Russia and China's proximity, their friendship is getting stronger and stronger, and one of the reasons is their common arch rival is USA. Brazil was a bit quiet this time because of it was not in that good shape as far as its politics is concerned, its economy is concerned. India was happy about this international terrorism, that this thing was taken on board. Things were discussed about international terrorism. Remember last meeting that took place in China at that point of time as well. Pakistan was being, this word Pakistan was used by China, so it gave us a very good hope. And last thing, that G7 meeting that took place in Canada. At that point of time, Mr. Trump was a bit ballistic on the Prime Minister of Canada, and this created many different cracks in this G7 as well. So BRICS and G7 together, other countries of G7 together can work as a team, and they can promote this globalization. Moving on to another item, this is about a very important topic. It is about this judges, right? The case for increasing retirement age of judges. Now if we go through some developed nations, then we find that on an average you will find that it is 70, the age of retirement for a judge of Supreme Court or High Court is 70. In our country it is 65, right? It is, yes, 65. So this is a big issue here, that what happens is that it takes ages anyway for you to reach over there, and once you reach there you have just got a couple of years and then you have to say goodbye forever. And what we are losing is we are losing senior judges, right? They have a huge amount of experience with them, they have this expertise, all these things we are losing by just getting service from them for like 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years max. So this is something that we need to work on, because if we go through our ratios, then we find that as far as this judge population ratio is concerned, India is among the lowest in the world. You can see here 19.66 judges per 1 million, that is 10 lakh, right? So the ratio is roughly 20 is to 10 lakh, which is not acceptable. If you go through countries like UK, you have 51 judges, nearly 2.5 times more than what we have here. In USA they have 107, Australia 41, and Canada they have 75. So we need to work on this thing. As far as this, it's not just about appointing judges, it is also about making our democracy a bit more strong, more mature, more resilient, because there are so many cases in various different courts at various different levels. These cases are pertaining to this civil code, or they are civil cases, right? So ease of doing business and all these things do get hampered because of so many cases are pending, and then you have this criminal cases. So in total we have 3.3 crore cases. Criminal cases are of course detrimental for our democracy. So total 3.3 crore cases. You have the figures here, right? At various different levels. Generally speaking, everywhere, right? May it be Supreme Court, High Courts, or subordinate courts, we have so many cases pending. So this is not acceptable, and to sort it out, we can extend this retirement age, and there are a few benefits if we go for it. The first one is that we'll have a strong talent pool of experienced judges. Then if you go to tribunals, then you find that retired judges are looking after tribunals. So if they can look after tribunals, then what's harm in they continuing their job for another 5 years? Nowadays we have all these medical facilities and everything, so it's not that after 65 you cannot work. We have so many good examples of people working even after 65, and there is nothing wrong with it as well. I think our Prime Minister is above 65, if I'm not wrong. Our president maybe Pranab Mukherjee definitely was, Manmohan Singh ji, Ratan Tata is there. There are other good examples too. Of course we have good ladies examples as well. It's not that they are all male only, right? We have so many female good examples too. I think Sumitra Mahajan ji, she's there. She is if I'm not wrong about 65, but anyways, so in various different fields, the various different spheres, we find people who are mature, who have got their life experience and everything. If they are going to be with this institution for a couple of years only, then that's not going to be fair for the institution. The other thing is that when we extend this age, we don't have to retire some judges, or you don't have to say goodbye to our senior judges and make space for new ones. We can fit them both in. The other thing is about this addressing this mountain of arrears. It will also help us buffer against this impeding litigation explosion, because as a country or society develops, right, in its developing phase, and once it gets developed status for a couple of years, you find that during this whole phase of economic growth, you find these litigations are going up as well, and post-retirement assignments becomes attractive, because many a times this sort of bait is given that once you are retired, we will make you this and that, etc. So your future is secure and things like that. So this that's everything. Moving on to another item, a balancing act. It is about this corruption, right? Prevention of Corruption Amendment Bill. Now, government, we have talked about this thing yesterday, so I'm not going into all those small details that we have already discussed, right? This prior government approval that government has came out with, that you need to take permission from relevant authority, is creating two different layers. The first one is inquiry layer. So if you want to conduct investigation, then you need to have this prior approval from government or relevant authorities. Now imagine how many civil servants we have, how many people we have in our public sector. It's not just about top officers, we are talking about everyone. So there are a huge number, isn't it? Means a huge number of people working in this public sector. So it's going to be very difficult for the government itself to give green signal to this many new cases. The other thing is, it's not just about cases, it's just about giving green signal to inquiry. Once this inquiry is conducted, then you have to take again one permission that you are going to file a case, you are going to register a case. So this is going to be time consuming, of course. The other thing is they have to work on this thing, that if there are few people, experts who are saying that because we don't have that much clarity provided by government on this thing, so there are a few experts who are saying that what will happen is government is trying to give green signal to money that you have paid tax on. That means even if you have got illegal money for, we are talking about corruption, and here we are talking about illegal money. If you have got illegal money and if you have paid tax on that thing, right, then as well that money will be taken as a proper legal source, so there will be nothing against you. Then this bribe givers are also considered as criminal, and of course they are equal partner in this whole act of corruption, no doubt. What we need a proper balance. When we say balance, we have to make sure that we don't give that much power to our government employees. At the same time, we have to fix accountability. So if you are giving responsibility, then you have to give them accountability too. And as far as citizens are concerned, we have to, we need a transparent system. We need to know when our job will be executed by these people. So we need that chart that we were talking about yesterday, and all those honest officers, they should be protected. And if there is anyone who is not honest, or who is a bad fish in the pond, then that person should be behind the bars. So for that we have to create this resilient system. This one is about a result foretold. It's about Cambodia. Cambodia is a country of ASEAN group. The person who is ruling, or the person who is going to rule this country for next 5 years again, because the election results are out. Hun Sen has been the main man here since 1985. So it's a dictator country. Where you find it over here, right? Let me show you. Here you see this is 26 written here, so Cambodia. So it's here, exactly here. This is Cambodia. Now capital is Phnom Penh. You have Angkor here, a very famous city, you can say, a very famous place. So can you tell me Angkor is associated with, or why Angkor is famous? And that's everything. You find Mekong River here, then you have this Gulf of Thailand, Vietnam, you have Laos. All these countries are sharing its border with this country called Cambodia. It was tilted towards USA, but now because of growing Chinese investment in infrastructure projects, it's getting closer and closer to China. Moving on to news item, this 40 lakh left out of draft NRC, that is National Register for Citizens. It is an important exercise. It's going on for 5 years, and it will get completed with this investment of 1,220 crore. It's about getting rid of illegal immigrants. We don't want, no nation would like to see illegal immigrants. They are vulnerable. At the same time, you don't know their profile, so it becomes a bit difficult when you have a huge amount of people coming into or entering into our country. Now it all started with this 1971's war that we fought with with Pakistan, and then we saw this new country called Bangladesh. So at that point of time, during this sort of conflicts, many people from this Bangladesh, they crossed borders and then they entered our area here. Quickly, dear friends, Choksi, right? Mehul Choksi was found it's reported that he is in this Antigua. So government has issued notice. Why no arrest in Manipur killings? Supreme Court asks CBI. Sex workers want to be criminalized under this Trafficking of Persons Prevention, Protection and Rehabilitation Bill 2018. Centre has supported this Supreme Court in removal of this nota in Rajya Sabha is of no use so far. That's what have been said by Supreme Court. We have to wait and watch for final verdict. Lok Sabha passes this death sentence for those convicted of raping girls under 12, and US eases export controls on India so that we can purchase strategic items from them. Here you have again two items. One is about Sri Krishna Committee. We have already talked about it. The second one is about a new cell that has been found by scientists. It is called epithelial cells, and you find them on many organs. So that's everything. These are your answers, right? This is Singapore. Yesterday I asked you a question, so here we go. This is Singapore. I have a few details about this Caribbean island. That's where you find them. It's called Antigua and Barbuda. These two small tiny countries of I beg your pardon, small tiny country, right? There are two names, one country. So Antigua and Barbuda is a country, island nation, and you find it in Caribbean portion of the world, right? This is Caribbean islands, you can say. And you have Caribbean Sea here, you have Atlantic Sea here, and the capital is St. John's. I have a question for you. Can you give me the name of a very important latitude that is passing a little bit north of these countries, right? Caribbean countries, or let's say, just give name of important latitude line that you find in this portion, right? Moving on, here is a brief timeline. You have Christopher Columbus. He visited here in 1943. After that, British people, they took over this country, and for a very long period of time it was under British control. Finally it got independence from it, and today we find there is a family called or the surname of this family is Bird, and they are the ones who are running this country since ages, I can say, right? For a very long period of time they are running this country. These are your two new questions. One is about judiciary, and the second one is this one is of course descriptive one. The other one is MCQ type. That's everything. Enjoy your studies, dear friends. I'll see you all soon. God bless you all.